You know, that bone-deep exhaustion where opening your eyes feels like betrayal, where you technically slept, but your cells didn't get the memo. I lived there for years. Not burnout, not depression, just a quiet unraveling of biological rhythms. No blood test could capture. The industrial world conspires against your mitochondria before dawn even breaks. That reflexive phone grab floods your retinas with artificial sunrise, tricking ancient light receptors into cortisol production cycles meant for actual danger. Your pancreas braces for imaginary carbs, while your prefrontal cortex drowns in dopamine tsunamis from unread notifications. But here is what changed everything. Your suprachiasmatic nucleus doesn't care about productivity culture. That tiny bundle of 20,000 neurons in your hypothalamus follows solar physics, not Silicon Valley. When I stopped feeding my brain digital twilight each morning, something remarkable happened. My cells remembered their original programming. Try this tomorrow before touching any screen. Stand barefoot on actual Earth for 90 seconds. Let morning photons hit your retinas directly, no sunglasses. Notice how your pupils contract differently than when staring at LED screens. That is your body's firmware updating in real time. Quietly, in the next pre-dawn hour, your liver enzymes are synchronizing to this new light code. You know, that groggy feeling when your alarm goes off but your body refuses to cooperate. That is not sleepiness. It is biological dissonance. Your cells are still operating on night shift because artificial dawn from phone screens tricked your circadian rhythm. I used to check notifications immediately, flooding my system with cortisol before sunlight could properly calibrate my hormones. The fix is embarrassingly simple yet profound. For 17 minutes each morning, I became a solar panel, no sunglasses, no windows. Just raw morning photons hitting retinal ganglion cells. This triggers a biochemical chain reaction. Cortisol spikes at the right amplitude. Serotonin production aligns with solar noon. Melatonin synthesis begins precisely 14 hours later. Modern life conspires against this. We eat when convenient rather than when our digestive enzymes peak. Hint, it is before sunset. That late dinner, it forces your pancreas to work the night shift while your liver tries to detoxify. No wonder you wake up feeling like a wrung out towel. Here is what worked. I started eating dinner at 6:30 p.m. sharp, even when inconvenient. The first 3 nights were brutal. Stomach growling at 9 p.m. felt like failure. But by day 4, something magical happened. I got sleepy at 10 p.m. Not exhausted, but gently pulled toward rest, like the tide obeying the moon. Your turn tonight, finish dinner before 7 p.m. Not a feast, just enough to satisfy. Then witness how your body rediscovers its ancient rhythm. Tomorrow's sunrise will taste different when your cells aren't struggling through a digestive hangover. When you try this, notice how your midnight cravings whisper different requests. That is your microbiome learning your new schedule. Your body remembers what true rest feels like, even if you've forgotten that heaviness behind your eyes at 3 p.m., the fog that lingers after lunch. Those aren't just busy life symptoms. They re-receipts from a system running on emergency reserves. Here is the silent betrayal. We've outsourced our circadian rhythms to artificial light and late night snacks. Your pancreas doesn't care about your deadline. It expects darkness and digestive silence by 9 p.m. When you eat under fluorescent lights at midnight, you are forcing your liver to process nutrients while it should be detoxifying. That post-dinner bloating, that is not fullness. It is your gut microbiome protesting the graveyard shift, but your cells still hold ancestral wisdom. Melatonin isn't just a sleep hormone. It is a master regulator of mitochondrial repair. When you finish eating before sunset, or at least 3 hours before bed, you gift your body something rare, a full 8-hour fasting window where autophagy kicks in. Think of it as your cellular janitorial crew, finally getting overtime pay. Tonight, try this radical act, eat dinner by candlelight, not for Instagram, but because firelight contains 0 blue spectrum. Notice how your stomach stays quiet, how your dreams gain vividness. That is not woo, it is your suprachiasmatic nucleus finally syncing with the moon. When was the last time you woke up without an alarm? Your cortisol curve remembers. The modern world stole our twilight hours, those sacred 90 minutes where our ancestors told stories by firelight. We replaced them with dopamine hits disguised as relaxation. But your nervous system wasn't designed for this bait. And switch that second wind at 11 p.m. That is not energy, it is cortisol spiking because your body thinks you are fleeing predators. Here is your biological loophole. Start dimming lights 2 hours before bed. Not pitch black, just warm amber. Your pineal gland reads this as sunset, triggering a melatonin cascade that actually reaches your receptors, unlike supplements that get filtered by your liver. If you must scroll, do it with red-tinted glasses. Your rods won't know it is artificial. This week, reclaim one sunset ritual. Not a productivity hack, but a surrender. Brew tea in a clear glass mug to watch the leaves descend, fold laundry while listening to a single album start to finish, sketch shadows instead of checking notifications. Your turn. What mundane act could become your twilight anchor? The simpler, the deeper, the imprint. True rest begins long before your head hits the pillow. It starts when you stop treating nighttime as daylight's overflow folder. Your cells don't need perfect conditions, just consistent signals that darkness means repair, not another shift. Tonight, leave one plate unwashed. Let the kitchen stay dark. Your mitochondria will thank you in the language of deeper sleep cycles. Your body remembers what your mind forgets. That first gasp of morning air shouldn't taste like panic. I used to jolt awake with my nervous system already in overdrive, fingers fumbling for my phone before my eyes fully focused. The day hadn't even begun yet. I felt the weight of unanswered messages, unfinished tasks, a life slipping through my fingers. Here is the biological betrayal. When you start your day in fight or flight, your cortisol spikes too early. By afternoon, you're running on fumes, your adrenal glands exhausted from a marathon. They never signed up for. The industrial world wants you to believe this is normal. That bleary-eyed scrolling with coffee is how mornings must be. But your cells know better. Try this tomorrow. Within 30 minutes of waking, move. Not aggressively, just enough to remind your limbs they re-alive, stretch while the kettle boils. Walk barefoot on cool tiles, sway to music only you can hear. This is in T exercise. It is a neurological handshake between body and brain. Here is why it works. Gentle movement raises your core temperature by just 1 to 2 degrees, syncing your circadian rhythm like a conductor tuning an orchestra. Dopamine trickles into your synapses, not in the chaotic bursts of social media hits, but in steady streams that say, free, we're awake now. I learned the hard way. Skip this ritual, and my day becomes a series of reactions. My thoughts scatter like startled birds. But on mornings when I honor those first quiet minutes, something shifts, not just in my energy levels, but in how I inhabit time itself. Tonight, lay out your clothes where morning light will touch them. Tomorrow, let your first motion be something that delights you, even if it is just tracing circles with your ankles under the covers. Your nervous system is listening, that slow ankle rotation under the sheets. That is your body whispering its first truth of the day. Most of us mistake these signals for weakness. The morning grogginess, the 3 p.m. brain fog, the way our knees protest when climbing stairs. We've been conditioned to call this normal aging when it's actually biological dissonance. Your cells still remember their original programming. The mitochondria in your muscles still crave movement patterns from when we walked 8 to 12 miles daily. Your pineal gland still expects darkness deeper than what streetlights allow. This isn't tea about willpower, it is about circadian sabotage. Modern life disrupted 4 primal rhythms. 1, light starvation, by day fizzy light poisoning, at night 2. Movement feasts followed by sedentary famines. 3, processed food masquerading as nutrition 4, chronic low. Grade stress mistaken for productivity. The fix is tea another supplement. It is returning to micro behaviors your DNA recognizes, 11 minutes of morning sunlight. No sunglasses, resets cortisol curves better than any alarm clock. Chewing each bite 20 to 30 times triggers parasympathetic signaling most miss by eating distracted. 90-second cold showers at 50 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit boost dopamine more sustainably than caffeine pre-sleep legs up the wall. Posture lowers intracranial pressure from screen. Strained days, these aren't tea life hacks, they re-biological handshakes. When clients report sudden energy improvements, it is usually just their cells finally being heard. One corporate lawyer shifted her 4 p.m. candy bar ritual to 10 minutes of stare, walking the result. No more post-lunch coma. Not because stairs are magical, but because her body needed movement more than sugar. Tonight, try this. Before reaching for your phone upon waking, press your bare feet into cold bathroom tiles for 30 seconds. That temperature shock triggers ancient wakefulness pathways no app can replicate. Your turn, what is one rhythm your body's been begging you to restore?